Hello, everyone. This is Teacher Brenda. Welcome to my 10 Minutes Math channel. Today, we would look into Mathematics Year 4 Money Part 3, which is what are savings, investment, and interest rate. Now, as you all know, savings is a very good habit. And what is actually savings? It's actually the money that you put aside now. Now, you have two choices. When you have a certain amount of money, you can choose to spend it. All right, or you could also choose to save it. Now, let's say you set aside this money so that you can use it in the future. Maybe it's for your education, or maybe it's a trip that you have planned. Okay, that very action is called savings. Now, some people would like that their savings grow over time. Now, if you're going to keep your money in your house under your bed or pillow, it's not going to grow. Okay, it's just going to be just like that. But if you chose to put your money somewhere else, okay, then it becomes known as investment. All right, the word investment. So if you have, let's say you have saved up, assuming you have saved up 10,000, or maybe just if you're still young, maybe you have saved up 1,000 ringgit, okay, from all your ang pao collections, okay. Now, this is now known as your asset. Asset is whatever property or money that you have that is yours, that you're not in debt to other person, that is completely yours. This is your asset now, okay? So an investment, this cash, okay, this asset can now be put in an investment, okay? If you're going to just keep it at home, it's going to just stay like that. But if you want your 1,000 to grow, to become more, then you invest your money. And where do you invest it? There are so many places to invest your money, such as bonds, stocks, real estate property. This is called your houses, you know, shop houses, condominiums, houses, or businesses are just some examples of investment. Now, what literally happens in an investment is, assuming you have $1,000, okay, over a certain time, you put or you invest this money in any of these investments, okay, and you would expect, okay, you hope that this money grows or it becomes more. Do you want to end up with less money? Obviously not, right? So you would expect that, hey, what if this 1,000 became like 2,000 over maybe 5 years or 10 years or 1 year? So this is what you would learn, okay? So how this money, these are examples of places where you could actually put this money to grow. All right. That's investment. All right, let's clear the drawing and move on to the next slide. Now, when you talk about investment, you cannot escape from the term interest rate. Now, let me give you a simple example. Now, let's say you had that $1,000, okay, and you walked into your neighborhood bank. Okay, there is a bank, and you could always go into the bank and say that, hi, I would like to place this money in your bank, with the hope that over time, maybe after 1 year, I would get a little bit more money. Okay, so the bank will happily say, yes, welcome to our bank, and here we would give you, this is our interest rate. And the bank will quote you, will say, okay, if you keep your money with us for 1 year, okay, we would pay you 5%. And what is this 5%? This 5% is your interest rate. It means the money, this is the rate, okay, that the money that the bank would charge or would pay you, that would calculate on this 1,000 that you have, okay, that you put in the bank, and calculate this as your interest amount. Now, how do we calculate this? It's very simple. Just take whatever the interest rate is of that amount of money that you're going to put in. So let's clear this and say, okay, that amount of money that you're going to put in is called as, there is a term for it, we call it as principal. Okay, it's called the principal, not your guru besar, okay? It's your principal, it's your amount of money that you put in the beginning, okay? All right. And the interest rate here, it's 5%. Okay, that is known as I. Okay, the interest rate that the bank gives you to keep your money for 1 year. So how much is your interest? Really, interest is that extra amount of money that you get. How do you calculate that? So all you'll need to do is you will need to take your interest rate, which is whatever the percentage that the bank says, and multiply it with whatever your principal is, which is your P, okay, and also multiply it by how long you're going to put that money in years, okay, and that's known as N. Okay, N is the number of years. So if it's 1 year, so you multiply by 1. If it's 2 years, you multiply by 2. Now, assuming in this case, with bank, you decide to put your money in for 2 years. All right. Okay, so let's calculate. So your N is 2, your I is 5%, and your principal is 1,000. That's the beginning amount of money. So you now work out the calculation. Let's see. 5%, as you know, it's 5 over 100 multiplied by $1,000, okay, and multiplied by, since you're going to keep your money for 2 years, multiplied by 2, okay. So over here, you see the 0 and the 0, you can cut it off. And then now 5 times 10, it's 50. 50 times 2, it's 100. So which means literally after 2 years, when you walk into this bank, your $1,000 would now become, plus with that $100 of interest, you can take home $1,100. This is your savings growing via interest. Okay, so the interest is 100, the interest rate is 5%. Now imagine if a bank gave you 10%, or not just a bank, it could be any other investments. Now remember, you have stock markets, you have gold, you can invest in gold, you can invest in mutual funds, you can invest in property, but of course, it's not so easy to buy and sell a property. You know, it takes time. So this is how you calculate basic or simple interest. All right, clear? And let's go on to the next slide, which is the relationship, the beautiful relationship that we have with the banks. Now, remember in this situation earlier, you have the money, so you go to the bank and you are sort of borrowing or lending your money to the bank, okay? And the bank will pay you interest based on the interest rate and the number of years and based on how much money you had put in. But that's not the situation for everyone. There are some people who would like to buy a house or even buy a car, and that takes up a lot of money and they don't have that amount in cash. So they go to the bank and they do, or they would say they take something called as a loan. Now, this is the relationship that we have with banks. If we have money, we can give the money or sort of loan the money to the bank, and the bank will pay us back interest. But when we don't have money and when you want to buy something like a big house, and like a house and a car, then you go to the bank again and you become the borrower. You take a loan. Now, the bank is going to give you the money this time, but again, you are going to pay back that money with interest rate to the bank. And that's what we're going to do, a simple calculation here. Now, assuming you want to buy a car and your car is 100,000. Okay, the value of your car is 100,000, and you go to the bank and you say, hi, I need a car loan for 100,000, and the bank officer says yes. And after studying all your creditability, your credit scores and everything, then they would agree to give you, but again, they're going to not give you a free loan, they're going to give you a certain interest. Now, let's say assuming it's 3%, okay? All right, this bank says, all right, I'll charge you 3% as interest. And let's just calculate how many years do you want to take this loan for? So you would say, oh, all right, I would take this loan for maybe 10 years. Okay, so now you can actually calculate. You bought the car for 100,000, but how much interest are you going to pay to the bank for this 100,000 that you are borrowing? See, it's not going to be 100,000. It's definitely not going to be less than 100,000. Okay, so let's see first how much is the interest rate. So to do the calculation over here, I first work with my 3%. Okay, multiplied with 100,000. Okay, cut the two zeros here. And of course, 10 years is my loan. All right. So over here, I have 1,000 times 3, which is 3,000, times 10 would be 30,000, which means, girls and boys, after 10 years, you would pay the bank 30,000 extra as interest. Now, don't forget, you also have to pay your 100,000. So this 100,000 and this 30,000 will combine to become 130,000. Okay, and the bank or the bank agent will divide this number by 10 years and divide it again by 12 months to tell you how much you must pay per month. All right, probably it's going to be 1,000 over. Okay, so this is how we have a complex relationship with our bankers. Okay, if you have extra money, you can put in your money and you can get interest rate, or you can get interest from it. But if you don't have money, or of course, if you have the money to buy the house or the car in cash, go ahead. Nobody's asking you to take a loan. But if you don't have the money, but you have the credit scores and you have a job and you fulfill all the bank requirements, then yes, the bank will loan you. Remember, the bank is not going to loan every person who just walks into the bank. Okay, he or she must have that ability to pay the bank back. All right, so this is something that happens in our daily life. All right, so remember, for a house, the value, the amount can be even more, the interest can be even higher. And usually, if let's say you bought a house for 500,000, okay, in Penang, it's quite common, you can buy a property easily for 500,000. And if you took a housing loan that's 30 years, most people take about 30 years, you would end up paying the bank almost 1 million in that 30 years time. And all that is because of something called interest rate. Okay, so be smart. All right, think for yourself who you want to work for. Okay, clear my drawings. And if you like this lesson, you may hit the like button and subscribe. All right, see you then for my next video, which would be part 4. Okay, take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.